Hello and welcome to episode 8 of How Uncivilized, a podcast where two mellow fellows explore the unknown regions of Star Wars lore. This episode will continue on from the previous episode where we were discussing Rey Sky-Patine. Sit back, at least 2 meters, and enjoy.
I really like that. So I suppose that brings me on now quite nicely to my next round of questions.
Excellent. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, which is Rey and her parents, really.
Nice.
Parentage, if you like.
A big question from episode 7.
Well,
indeed. I went down the rabbit hole that I did.
And I feel like, we should probably read out the full questions in their entirety.
In your finest, least insulting Charlie Feasby impression, go ahead.
Is there any way that Rey... No.
No respect indeed.
You're just Moss to me. Moss from the IT crowd.
Not far off, to be honest.
Okay, so here's the first question that Charlie penned about Rey's parents. Is there any way that Rey is Luke's daughter? Because consider this. She's extremely Force-sensitive. Luke's lightsaber called to her, and she, like Luke, was left behind on a sand planet at a very young age, never knowing her true family. Well, of course, yes, there are very big similarities in the way that they've been sort of raised. I mean, I suppose the difference is there that Luke did actually have some kind of family there.
Yeah, he was his aunt and uncle.
He's got no excuse. He was raised fine. He needs to calm down.
He had a perfectly fine upbringing. Nothing to complain about at all.
Except from... I want to go to Tashi Station to pick up some power converters.
What a whiny brat.
Yeah, he was. He was very whiny. and that's a reason why Rey couldn't be related to Luke, because Rey doesn't whine as much. That's how we know Anakin and Luke are related, because of all the whining.
They whine.
Oh, my word. But yeah, so that was that question there. And I'm just going to read out the next question, because I'm going to sort of answer them as a whole.
Nice. This is a good question.
It is. Is there any way that Rey is actually Han and Leia's daughter? Because consider this. I'm liking the consider thises.
Thank you.
Because consider this. Han takes an immediate liking to her and offers her a job barely having known her. Rey almost instantaneously looks at him like a father figure, which is very true. But as we discussed, that might be because she was just wanting a bit of a family there. Also, consider the fact that Kylo Ren keeps asking about that girl who's with Finn, like he's already aware he's got a sister. He also takes off his mask for her when she asks, like he's doing her a favor, / hoping she'll remember him. And then consider the fact that Kylo Ren turned to the dark side, and maybe Han and Leia didn't want their daughter joining up with Big Brother. As you mean her big brother, not Big Brother as in Big Brother. 8:59 a.m. Rey walks into the AT-AT. So they needed to hide her, like Luke and Leia were once hidden, away from the arm of the Empire / First Order to keep her safe, even though it meant that the family couldn't be together. And that's another reason Han and Leia broke up. Or maybe Rey has no Skywalker blood in her at all. So that's the question.
That was all one question.
Wow.
But it's a proper paragraph. Well done, Spencer. You did very well interpreting my words.
There was a lot of wordage.
Thank you.
But I think we got through it. So as you can tell at this point, this must have been question 51 or whatever the last one was, and you were just spewing out ideas.
Something like, if I bring up the actual list again, it was... We're at question 40 by this point, so...
Yeah, so you've gone mad.
Well on the way. Yeah.
But that one's a nice question. Well, I'm going to try and answer those questions, because I actually think that's a really cool fan theory that you came up with there. But let me expand a bit further on those now. So I'll first of all give a little bit of context. As you were discussing earlier, basically Rey's parents were killed by an assassin. But let's actually hear what they're about, where they're from, So Rey's father...
With the intrigue.
Yeah, oh, mate, there's so much intrigue with this. To be honest, there were a lot of words where I was like, what does all this mean? Rey's father was a genetically engineered strand cast. So a Strandcast is a bioengineered living entity. Yeah, exactly. Strandcast.
Okay.
Yeah, they've just created this term. He's a
So he was a
Strandcast.
test tube baby, essentially.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So he was created by the Sith Eternal. So the Sith Eternal are like, the whole greater good chanting that goes on.
Greater good.
Yeah. In what's the place called?
Hoods.
Hexagon or something?
Exegol. Yeah.
Hexagol, yeah. So they're thems, and they were creating all these various clones. He was created to house the Emperor's consciousness. So when the Emperor died, his consciousness would be reimplanted into another one of his clones or forced creations. He was he was a not quite identical clone.
What?
Exactly. That's what I found out.
What, did they drop the file or something and it got contaminated?
Well, he was non-identical. So whatever that means.
Non-identical clone. Okay.
Yeah. Which just means surely he's just some kind of, like you were saying, test tube baby rather than a clone.
Yeah.
So he wasn't force sensitive. Thus, Sidious viewed him as powerless and useless.
Oh, that's kind of sad.
Yeah. How harsh. Though he viewed him as powerless and useless, he allowed him to live as his son,
son in inverted commas.
in inverted commas indeed, to continue his bloodline through natural methods. Who knows what that means? So yeah, he basically let him stay alive to further the bloodline, it would seem. There's this whole, as you know from one of the earlier episodes, we talked about his contingency plan, the Emperor's contingency plan, if he were to die.
One of his many, many contingency plans.
Is that on Exegol, he had, with the Sith Eternal, this whole place where they were making clones of his body, trying all these various experiments so that he could basically put his consciousness into a body and live forever. Hence, the Sith Eternal, I assume. So he's trying to do that. One of his clones is like the Forrest Gump of all the clones. He decides, no, don't want him.
Does she have the Force or is she like me?
Oh dear. So anyway, so he does continue the bloodline, as was expected, but
Which seems very irresponsible of him, to be honest. Like if your dad's the Emperor, it's like maybe don't have children.
Yeah, maybe it's a good idea just to let yourself die out.
If he's keeping you alive purely to continue the line,
that's a little bit.
Don't.
Don't do as he says. He's an evil man. He's got ulterior motives. So anyway, continuing on. It's not known how, but he met a woman.
Not known how he met a woman.
It's literally like, I've searched all the sources and there's just no, it's literally like, the only source I found is that it says, it is not known how, but he met a woman and they had Rey.
It's not known how. Okay, let's
He
leave
just
it at
found
that then.
When a man loves a woman. Yeah.
Very nice. It's forever unknown how two people had a child.
Yeah.
And let's keep it that way. This is Star Wars, not,
literally
Game of Thrones.
Yeah, we don't need any more than that. And anyway, so they got together, this lady and Rey's father, known as Strandcast, or a Strandcast.
Isn't it the, what's her name? The woman from Killing Eve?
What, who plays the mother?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, no. I didn't really notice. No idea.
They weren't in it long enough to really notice.
It's quite a flash in a pan. But if that was the case, then that's pretty cool. A nice little cameo for you. Yeah, anyway, they left Rey on Jakku to keep her safe from Palpatine, essentially, because at the end of the day, Palpatine sniffed that this woman was pregnant.
Sniffed.
Yeah. He has quite the nose for the Force sensitives.
She is with child.
Exactly. I mean, he's creepy enough. Why not just add that to his repertoire of creep?
That wouldn't be the worst thing he's ever done.
Yeah, so he basically figures out that the baby that is coming is Force sensitive and has the power of the Sith, and so really wants to track that package, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
They try to keep her safe from Palpatine on Jakku. And then, as we discussed earlier, they were brutally murdered by the Sith assassin, Oki, or Ochi, however you wish to pronounce it. Yeah. So that is very sad. We don't hear much of them. They're both quite copy-outy people. They're just thrown in there for the sake of it seems.
Yeah, almost like an afterthought, you would say.
Yeah, yes, one could say that. But I thought, just as a little side note to this, I'd basically go into all the theories that I found on the web pre-episode 9.
Excellent.
Okay.
Nice.
The first...
This was exactly what I was hoping for from this.
So the first theory is she's Luke's daughter, which...
Nice.
Which is a good one, you know. It makes sense. Force sensitive and all that. Luke, the way he was on Uck 2, it wouldn't surprise me if he got really depressed about blowing up the Jedi Temple and then went off and banged someone. You know,
I mean, Rey was already alive at that point, but you know,
went to a cantina and just got drunk and had a one-night stand.
Yeah.
The next one is she's related to Obi-Wan, and I've put in brackets racist.
Oh, what? Just because he's British?
Yeah, exactly. It's the British connection. Oh, they have to be well talking, therefore it's got to be Obi-Wan's kid. Yeah. No. So that one was quite funny. Apparently that's something to do with, like, obviously Obi-Wan having a lot of time, again, to himself. Again, he could have easily gone to the Mos Eisley cantina and had a one-night stand, I suppose. And then, like, the one you were pretty heavy on, which was the Han and Leia having another daughter connection.
Secret child.
Yeah, the secret child that's not so secret. But yeah, that's not the case. The next one is Snoke created her. But that one's a bit of it's not really important because, Palpatine created Snoke, so...
Technically, that one is true then, because Palpatine created his weird clone.
Well, yes. Actually, in a weird, convoluted way, and, that is true.
Palpatine also created Snoke, so...
Indeed.
By that logic, it's actually right, just in a very long-winded way.
Incredibly long-winded. The next one is, she's a Force baby. She is a Force baby. Oh, that's all she is.
A Force baby. Yeah. Like Anakin Skywalker was.
Pretty much, yeah. Like just Force Jesus. Just appeared. No real parents, no real whatever.
Yeah.
Pretty much almost like what Kylo Ren said in episode 8.
Yeah.
You're nothing. Your mother was a hamster and your father smelled of elderberries. The next one is she's Anakin reincarnated.
Again, another cool theory.
Which is a cool theory, but again, she doesn't moan enough, so probably not. And then there's another one, which is essentially 2 random Jedi, and I've put in inverted commas, got it on. Who knows? That could have happened.
Nice.
I mean, they're force
it
powerful.
is not known how, but they had a child.
Yeah, exactly. We'll skim over that one. Who needs to know that? It's Star Wars. It's Star Wars. It's kid friendly. It's PG.
Yeah.
The last one that I found, which I thought was the most interesting, is Rey is a clone of Luke.
Ooh, that would be interesting.
Which would have been interesting. I mean, I don't know how they'd play it out, but I like the theory. But again, not enough
for trying. Yeah. Yeah.
To be fair, Rey actually, at the end of the day, she's quite cold. Like, Luke's a lot more like friendly and nice, whereas Rey's quite cold.
I mean,
it makes sense.
I guess she did have to raise herself on a planet by herself. So,
yeah.
Leaves a certain number of issues to be resolved or fulfilled.
Indeed.
Yes.
But as I say, I enjoyed her character. But I thought I'd go into some interesting theories. And before episode 9 came out, there were a lot of Rey theories flying around there. So I'm glad we got them out in the open and done.
I was going to ask, after episode 8, did you think that would be the last we heard of Rey's parents, that she would just be no one?
Part of me was kind of hoping that would be the case, because I like the theory that the Force... I hate the idea of Force sensitivity, because the idea is that the Force lives through us all and we can all access it. Yeah. So I think it would have been cool for her not to have had any serious relations. So I thought that was a nice aspect given to that film, and if it turned out to be true, I would have been okay with that. Because then it would imply that you don't have to be special to use the Force. You don't have to be related to these big powers. Anyone can be born with a lot of power. Anyone can be born with good Force potential. So, to be honest, I mean, I know why it was done, because we needed a tie-up which was somehow satisfying. And J.J. Abrams seemed to work double time to get that done. But no, that was the one thing I enjoyed from Rian Johnson was that explanation. Because I thought it just it stopped a lot of the bullshit flying around about it that just frustrated me. So
it was the only theory which would have been both a surprise and satisfying at the same time, I thought.
Definitely. But no, she had to be related to Lord of the Sith, yeah.
Yeah, she's a Palpatine. It's always a Palpatine.
It's always Palpatine.
What I thought after watching episode 8 is I did think it might come up again. Not to like claim that, oh yeah, I knew she was going to be a Palpatine or anything. But it was the fact that she'd been told that by Kylo Ren. And the fact that he is the bad guy kind of made me think that he would maybe want to deceive her. So it's possible that he lied or something. So I was never quite 100% certain that that was all it was going to be, that she was no one. That's what I wanted it to be, because that was the best outcome of it after watching episode 8.
But it definitely, like you say, it wasn't done and settled. There was definitely room for maneuver, and J.J. Abrams took that room and wiggled it about.
Absolutely. There was still stuff to be done. Things to be said.
There was a lot more milk in the carton, as it were.
Blood in the water.
Indeed. So then moving on from Rey's parentage, all the theories surrounding that, which was really interesting. I did enjoy doing that. But we now move on to I really like this question, actually.
Nice.
Is Rey now the pilot or the co-pilot of the Falcon?
An interesting question. Even after episode 9, we still don't really know who owns the Falcon anymore.
Well, that's it. So with the history of the Falcon, we know from watching Solo that it was originally owned by Lando Calrissian. Tracing it back, I can't actually see anyone that's owned it prior to Lando. So I think he was the original owner.
Yeah.
But then obviously it changed hands quite a bit before it came back to...
It changed hands quite a bit.
Yeah, well, as we know, Han won it from Lando. From then, it was stolen by someone and then sold to... What's his face? What's his name again? You know his name.
Uncivilized.
That's it, yeah, sold to him. And then he just kept
Simon
it there.
Pegg.
Yeah, Simon. We'll just call him Simon Pegg.
Yeah.
So I really like this question. I did a lot of research, and Rey has been listed as one of the owners, and this is on Wikipedia.
Good old Wikipedia.
And she's also made modifications to it, it says on there as well. So she is actually listed as the final owner of the Millennium Falcon. So though maybe it wasn't said or even largely hinted at, really, she is, it would seem, the owner at the moment. I mean, I went through the whole page on the Millennium Falcon and its history and making sure that I didn't miss a beat on it. And I really couldn't find anything that definitively said Rey now has the keys or something, like there was nothing that says that.
And with that, she signed the insurance document.
Yeah, that's it. And the Millennium Falcon was forever in her possession. But it does imply on the list of owners that she is the final owner so far of the Millennium Falcon. Obviously, this is before anything new is released. This is the most up-to-date information you're going to get, I think. Yeah. With that in mind, looking at all the owners, obviously it goes through Lando, then Han, then Unkar Plutt. The dude between Han and Unkar Plutt, the guy who stole it, and then it's Rey. Well, Han again, and then Rey. This has made me come to quite a large conclusion about the Star Wars universe. In that the Star Wars universe is racist towards Wookiees, treating them as inferior and beastly creatures when they are actually wise and intelligent beings. There have even been Wookiee Jedi. So, they're quite intelligent.
Yeah. So we know this, that even new upcoming Wookiee Jedi in the, what's it called? The New Republic?
The High Republic, I think it's called.
The High Republic. There we go. That's the name of it.
They also hinted at a Wookiee youngling in the series, the Clone Wars series. So that was kind of cool as well. There's also been all kinds of sort of expanded universe before they were like denounced as canon, but really cool. Wookiee Jedi Master wielded a yellow blade, and he wore like these really cool, they just had robes with cool patterns on, basically. I couldn't think of the word.
A nice decorative robe.
Yeah, no, he just looked really cool. But yeah, so, I basically came to the question of why is Chewbacca not the natural next owner of the Falcon?
Yeah.
Why shouldn't he own it? I mean, look, I'm sure it's for plot purposes, but this is Chewie's ship. Rey can't just come in and take it because she needs a ship, and Wookiees are third-class citizens.
The longest out of anyone.
Exactly, and they're just treated like third-class. I mean, he is obviously the natural next owner. He's been the co-pilot for years with Han. Han's just passed away. He's grieving, and then Rey just comes in and just steals his only possession, his only reminder of Han. I mean, it's rude.
And then she nearly blows him up in episode 9. I mean, Thank goodness he was on a different ship, but yeah,
Goodness
just
gracious.
just cruel.
It's Wookiee cruelty, that's what it is. Just because they think they're third-class
Absolutely.
citizens. I actually think it's because of the way, like, their language, right? The way they speak. People think it's very beastly, but it's not. They're just literally, like, speaking like you and me, or if we were listening to, say, I don't know, a Russian conversation, we'd be like, oh, that's a different I can't understand, but I know it's a language.
It sounds beastly? Oh, gosh.
No, I'm not sound.
You're racist.
Please, Mr. Putin. No, I'm certainly not racist, but I think that it has parallels.
We would like to take a moment to confirm that Spencer is not racist.
Don't change this, Charlie. It's Star Wars that's racist, not me. So yeah, my basic understanding is that Rey is the owner of the Falcon. She is the pilot, not the co-pilot. Chewie's the co-pilot, and that is where it's settled. Because once Han dies, they need to have a ship, and Rey just decides, yeah, I'm going to be the pilot. Even though Chewie is, first of all, way more than qualified. He has been piloting the Falcon for years. Secondly, why can't he own it? Oh, that's right, because Wookiees can't have possessions. I mean, it's crazy. Han freed him from slavery, and he's still a slave. I mean, it says everything.
Still a slave to this day.
Exactly. So this is why I really like this question, because it brings up quite an important point to me anyway, that Rey is obviously a Palpatine. I mean, she's evil from the get-go, stealing this shit.
Absolutely. Just stealing everyone's stuff. I guess she managed to scavenge her way to the pilot seat.
Yeah, it genuinely baffles me that Chewie is not the owner of the Falcon at any point. At any point, though, Charlie.
At any point in the whole series.
No, you look at the list of owners. His name is not on there at all. His name
is not even on the list.
No, he's not even considered like a part owner at any point. At any point. He's only considered as someone who's done modifications to it and been a commander on it. That's nothing. He doesn't.
To say the page is called Wikipedia,
I know it's
very racist towards
slippery
Wookiees.
slope. But yeah, that had me quite frustrated. As
Poor
I say,
Chewie. Justice for Chewie.
Yeah, and Rey.
Hashtag justice for Chewie.
Well, we'll get it one day. One day we'll get it. I mean, he's bound.
Yeah.
Wookiees live, as far as I'm aware, forever. I mean, Chewie's not dead yet.
Nope. Just still going.
They live for a long time. But yeah, so that's that question answered, essentially, is that Rey came in, stole the Falcon from Chewie, and is now the pilot. And Chewie has just been a subservient Wookiee and gone ahead with it after, I assume, a lot of whipping. So...
Oh, God. Oh, dear.
No, it's grim to think. But anyway, unless you have anything you want to add on that one, that's that question done, really.
We are very sorry for the treatment of Wookiees in the Star Wars universe. I will be starting the hashtag Justice for Chewie, but you can also change that to Justice for Wookiees. We will never rest until justice is served.
Yes, and once the Millennium Falcon is returned to Chewie, then we will rest.
The rightful owner of the Falcon.
Indeed, he is the rightful owner. I think we could take this to Galactic Court. I see no reason why not. I think we've got a good case here. Let's take it to Judge Jedi, and we'll...
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll get something sorted. So anyway, so that brings us nicely to Spencer's bonus questions.
We need the jingle for Spencer's bonus questions.
Wait, what could we use? What theme have we not used yet? Well, we've only used one theme. It's Rey's theme.
We've only used one theme. For those of you who don't know, the opening theme to How Uncivilized is Rey's theme, but jazzy.
Yeah, jazzy Rey's theme. We hope you're enjoying it every time you listen to an episode. I'm trying to think what we could do. Bonus question, Spencer's bonus. He is so bonus.
No, can't use that one. Can't use that one.
Maybe not. Maybe not that one. But let's move on to these ones. So Charlie,
we'll come up with something.
Why don't you tell us what my bonus questions are?
There was 3 bonus questions. So there was, what was Rey doing between episode 8 and episode 9?
Yeah.
Whose lightsaber is she using at the beginning of episode 9 when Luke/Anakin's was destroyed? And has she improved at all with her lightsaber combat and force powers?
Exactly. Now, the first one you researched, the second one I researched, and then the third one we researched together. I'd say researched in the loosest of terms.
The last question.
So, Charlie, just kick us off now with the first.
Yeah, so between episodes 8 and 9, I've gone into a few things about what Rey was doing. One of the first things she did was, at the end of episode 8, we see her with all the Jedi texts, which she collected from the tree library from Acto. Her and C-3PO went through these Jedi texts, translating them so that Rey was able to read them, using C-3PO's unmatched knowledge of languages.
Is unmatched.
They were able to translate the Jedi text.
I can speak almost 1 million dialects. What does he say? I can't remember what he says. Something like that. Probably not as high-pitched.
Yeah, no, it seems kind of accurate. Yeah. She also, in this time, knowing that Ren is Leia's son, Rey pressed her for information about his past to learn more about Kylo Ren, because she'd learnt a few things from Luke, but she wanted the whole story, and she felt like Leia would probably be able to give her the most accurate description of what actually happened to Kylo Ren and why he turned to the dark side. From this conversation between Leia and Rey, Leia could sense that clearly Rey cared about Kylo Ren and wanted him to turn to the good side. So she could see there was still a connection between the two of them, even though Ren... God, their names are so similar.
Rey and
every
Ren,
time.
Kylo and Skywalker.
Even though Kylo Ren at this point had become Supreme Leader, Rey was still a big advocate for Ben Solo
we
coming
can turn
back.
him. All it'll take is 2 pints and we'll turn him.
The Resistance, because they could all fit on the Millennium Falcon at this point, there was hardly any of them, they first made a kind of base camp on this planet called Anot or Anowat. But the thing about Anowat, it was actually a polluted planet in the Anowat system, and it was actually gassed by the Empire before the Battle of Yavin, which is that's grim.
That's
like,
really
gassing
grim.
a whole planet. That's
well, one could say that's pretty evil. That's,
that's pretty bad. I mean,
that's so dark side.
Yeah, that's very, very dark side.
So did you say that like the whole of the Resistance was on the Falcon? Because when I was reading up about the Falcon, it said max capacity was 6.
If you remember,
I
at the
feel
end
like
of the last
there was way more than 6 people on the Falcon.
Yeah.
They all
if you remember at
in.
the end of The Last Jedi, all the survivors from the Battle of Crate get on the Millennium Falcon and leave.
I know,
Unless they just
but
left
like,
some people behind. That would be...
Oh,
that'd be disturbing. Of like,
sorry, there's only.
So, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, stop.
Oh, there's
Let's
me
go.
and Chewie, so we can fit in
Yeah,
Leia,
that's
Poe, BB-8, and Finn, and the rest of you can just die.
Yeah. Whilst on this planet, Rey got into a fight with an Anowatan pit beast, and she tried to use the Force to tame the beast, but it's quite hilarious. It didn't work, so she had to be saved by Leia, Chewie, and Rose on the Millennium Falcon. So, good job.
Nice.
They then went to Mon Cala, or Mon Calamari, as it's also known, which is always makes me think of the robot chicken scene with the lift.
Yeah, it's great.
But yeah, so she got into a fight on Mon Calamari too, and she seems to be getting into a habit of just starting fights with people, where she has to be rescued by others.
Oh dear.
Another adventure they had was on a planet called Firmic, and they went there for supplies. So Firmic is a factory planet in the Outer Rim, an excellent place to scavenge for supplies, which Rey is very good at.
Cheers.
They also went to this planet called Batu, which is another Outer Rim planet, and they went there in a recruitment effort to kind of recruit people to join the Resistance. But the thing is, at the same time, Kylo Ren was actually on this planet as well, and he was interrogating
a recruitment drive as well.
Spies. Yeah,
it's like those like freshers fairs. Like everyone, come join the Empire.
Separate stalls at the other side of the campus. Yeah,
you're stomping on our ground. How dare you?
Yeah, the Empire is going to be having a barbecue coming up.
It's just a friendly thing.
Feel free to come along.
Bring your own booze. BYOB.
Rey confronted Ren on this planet, and they had a fight, they fought. But the thing about this is, as I was researching this, they had like a photo from behind the scenes of the actual actresses Daisy Ridley and Adam Driver on like a Batu set. So I wonder if it was originally meant to be in the film and they cut it, or if it's just a photo from another set which they've used, but it wasn't a set I could recognize from any other planets or places they'd been to. So I don't know, maybe it was
based on
filmed
how
and
much
just not
like
used.
they rammed into that film. It would not surprise me if they had a plethora of scenes that they tried to film that never actually made the cut.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, oh my word, episode 9 is very rich in content. Very,
It's
very
dense.
rich. Yeah.
So Ren, in his usual style, was trying to turn her to the dark side. She was trying to turn him to the light side. And Ren was saying, oh, the resistance is hopeless. But Rey was like, there'll always be hope. And with that, Rey managed to escape on the Falcon, being piloted by Chewie. Hashtag justice for Chewie, the true pilot of the Millennium Falcon.
Indeed. And he should always get that recognition. The true owner of the Millennium Falcon, I'd like to point out.
Yes. But the interesting thing about this fight, which would have been interesting to see, is Ren actually had the upper hand throughout the majority of the fight. And so he was able to get to the point where Rey needed to be saved, as opposed to other times where it's kind of been pretty even between the two of them.
Yeah. No, that's really, really cool, because it implies that he has better training and I mean, he has way better resources, let's be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. So Rey, one of her key jobs pre-episode 9, post-episode 8, was she was big in the recruitment effort, like we say, setting up her stall to be like, join the resistance. But as she was the last Jedi, or the last practicing Jedi in the known galaxy, we think. That was a big up for the Resistance, is that they have this presence of the last Jedi
on the stall
with their cause. Yeah, so she went around recruiting people, being like, hi, I'm a Jedi, come join the Resistance, it's really cool.
Oh, that's very sad.
So in this time, she had thoroughly embraced the way of the Jedi. And interestingly enough, it was actually Leia who oversaw her training as a Jedi, because of course Leia, although briefly was trained as a Jedi, she seemed the best person to pass on at least some of this knowledge. They used equipment that Leia herself had actually used in training with Luke. Things like the hovering balls which shoot lasers at you.
Oh, yeah.
I should really have looked up the name for that, but I didn't. Oh well.
Oh, there we go. Training thing.
So they trained in the jungles of a planet called Ajan Kloss, I think, or Ajan Kloss, something like that. We can never get the names of these right. Feel free to correct us
Please
all
do.
The time. And that was a planet where Leia herself had trained as a Jedi.
Right. Was that the planet we saw then that they were on in the flashback? I assume, because it was very foresty as well, wasn't it? So
yeah. It's the same planet that they're on at the beginning of episode 9 when Rey is training.
Yeah, no, cool.
So that's kind of where we see them at the beginning of episode 9. That's kind of what's happened in the gaps between the two films. She was going on a few quests with people, but ultimately she was training to become a Jedi and recruiting people to the Resistance. That was the main thing she was doing at the time.
Oh, very good. No, yeah. I think that makes sense. Just training and recruiting and building up ready for the big fat fight.
Yeah, it seems like a good use of time.
Yeah, no shocks there. I mean, I was hoping we'd get a little bit more, out of her, but, she's very elusive, so... God, what a character. So, thank you for that, Charlie. That kind of fills in some gaps.
You're most welcome.
So,
fill us in with the next question?
I will do the next one, which is, whose lightsaber is Rey using at the beginning of episode 9 when Luke's was destroyed in episode 8? So obviously there was an explanation to this, which was Rey repaired the lightsaber using its shattered parts. There's this assumption that she had become well trained enough to be able to understand the intricate dynamics of a lightsaber and had therefore, using her tinkering skills, been able to work out how to fix it. Now I believe that because I think anyone that's able to tinker with machines and ships, crafts, the way she can, would have a good understanding of the internal workings of lightsaber. So I can believe that. I can get behind that. That's fine. But I put here in brackets, J.J. Abrams performed what I like to call a Bryan Singer.
I don't know. I feel like that could be misconstrued as something else.
Yeah. Don't worry, it's not a sex position.
Oh, God.
I'm basically referring to when Bryan Singer directed some of the X-Men films. So he directed X-Men 1 and X-Men 2. And then The Last Stand was directed by someone else who basically, let's say, what happened in that film, Bryan Singer didn't agree with, because come X-Men First Class, or no, what was it? X-Men Days of Future Past.
Days of Future Past, yeah.
He basically completely like wipes that. He just rewrites. He just changes the space-time continuum so that like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? So he doesn't go fully Singer, but JJ does. He hints at Bryan Singer in that he basically just goes, no, the lightsaber's there.
Yeah.
No, it was repaired. It was easily repaired.
Yeah.
Like,
I've said this before, but it feels like a real missed opportunity not to introduce a new lightsaber, or at least a modified version of the...
Oh, it was such a missed opportunity.
Anakin's lightsaber. It would have been interesting to see maybe, because the crystal had been cracked, it too had become unstable, so maybe they would both be wielding like
fuzzy
crossbar lightsabers. Yeah. That would have been cool to see.
For me personally, Rey making her own lightsaber at the end of the film had no meaning to me. Her lightsaber should have been at the beginning of the film, and she should have used that throughout the whole thing. There was no need for her to remake that lightsaber. There's no actual value to that blade. She definitely could have built her own lightsaber and should have done. But again, it's just JJ.
We know that for certain because she did build her own lightsaber at the end of the film.
Yeah. So I've sort of gone on to say a lot of Episode 9 was reneging on Episode 8 setups and content. Basically, what that implies is the trilogy would have been way different had JJ taken the lead on all of them. But I suppose, whatever, I'm sure he can sleep at night. Wow. Yeah, he's
but let's try not to be too negative. Also, Spencer, how do you sleep at night, JJ Abrams?
We're an upbeat podcast. Hey, you're looking at all the good things about the new trilogy. Yeah, so a lot of it was, and again, that comes down to when you see Episode 9, you realize there is a lot of content. There's a lot of stuff pushed in there because JJ wanted to basically almost, wipe The Last Jedi out and then he almost put 2 films worth of content into one film.
Yeah, it felt almost like a 7.5 as opposed to a 9.
Yeah, definitely did. But it was a good film and enjoyable.
Absolutely.
A lot going for it.
At the end of the day, like, there's no Star Wars film I can't sit and enjoy watching.
No, definitely not. I've enjoyed all of them, I think. Even looking at it from a different perspective rather than a personal one, I feel like you can look at it quite in a neutral way. Like, for example, Episode 8 was the cinematography, as I've said before, in probably the last episode, was actually quite beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
All across the board, really. And so, yeah, I think there are good aspects. The Lightspeed ship crash was beautifully done, was an amazing part of cinema.
Episode 8 played a little fast and loose with established canon and stuff. I think as a story, it's a very strong, tight piece of cinema, really, a tight piece of storytelling in terms of the parallels between characters and stuff, and the actual story behind it, I think, is very strong.
No, yeah.
You might disagree with me there, but I think as a story, it's
Here at How Uncivilized, Charlie, we don't disagree. We don't disagree.
Absolutely.
But you're wrong. So
we don't disagree, but we don't agree.
Too true. So anyway, that brings us nicely round to the final question. So obviously, like, we've talked about the lightsaber and it being repaired, and that's basically the reason why they basically threw it back in. So the final question is, has Rey improved at all with lightsaber combat and force powers? So we get to sort of have a look in the same way we did Kylo Ren, studying how powerful Rey is. I mean, obviously we know she has quite a lot of raw power, but what things have we seen in the film and through canon that have, or external to that say to us, yes, she has improved since the last film. What have you got, Charlie, from that?
So in simple terms, yes, she has improved her force power. She has improved her lightsaber ability purely because she's been through an actual training regime, She didn't really train much with Luke, and it was purely from her own knowledge of self-defense that she was able to wield a lightsaber. But between 8 and 9, she has actually developed her skills through training with Leia. So what I wanted to talk about was a bit of her actual training regime she had with Leia in order to enhance her skills.
Yeah. Do share.
There's not a lot of detail about what kind of training regime they did, but it was essentially they would do things like capturing tree-tied ribbons. So Leia would tie ribbons to trees, and these trees would be defended by the remote floaty ball things, which I did not look up the name of because
I think they're just called remotes, mate. Maybe?
Probably, yeah. through this, she was able to learn or improve her abilities in terms of evasion, defensive, being able to deflect bolts and things like that. But she also, whilst doing this, studied the Jedi scripture, which she translated with C-3PO.
Yeah.
And from learning that scripture, she was able to learn the healing techniques that we see her use in episode 9. And the healing techniques is one of the biggest examples of, for me, where her Force abilities have improved the most. Like, healing is something that we haven't seen before in the Star Wars universe, and it was very, very cool to see.
No, it was fantastic, actually. I thought it was a great evolution of Force powers. That was one thing that I feel should have been in sooner, and I'm glad that it's in now, and it's a really cool power.
Yeah, it's a thing of, due to her training and also the fact that time has passed between the episodes, naturally her Force abilities and Jedi abilities have improved.
Yeah. No, I mean, what I came up with was quite simple. So I put yes with Force powers, with the healing, and also the ability to channel the lightning in such a way is an improvement on Force powers as well. Like, yeah, I mean, you know, she did supposedly murder Chewie or whatever, and da-da-da-da-da. But
it's fine. She did,
but it was a use of powers, so it was really interesting. And yes, she has improved
Yeah.
on what she can do and how far her abilities can stretch. I've actually been quite brutal based on what I've seen in the film. I mean, yes, obviously, naturally, it would go without saying she has improved her lightsaber combat, but I don't see that personally. I feel like she's probably spent a lot more time looking at the Force, those aspects, because those are the really improved bits. I feel like her lightsaber combat is about the same as it was in the last film.
One thing I will point out is that it's kind of difficult to actually show it on film, but do remember that in the time that she has improved her Jedi ability, Kylo has improved his Sith abilities. So although it kind of looks like they haven't improved in terms of their fighting, it's kind of because they've both moved up together. So I would say in terms of her agility and her actual prowess with the lightsaber, it has improved, but it's just Kylo's also improved. So when you watch it, it kind of looks the same, or at least that's why we interpret it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think maybe my main qualm is to do with lightsaber combat in the new trilogy. Maybe.
Yeah.
I just find it very rough around the edges. It doesn't look like a masterfully graceful technique. It looks quite heavy.
Like we saw in the prequel trilogy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like there didn't seem to be, especially between episodes 8 and episode 9, you would kind of want to evoke those fights maybe a bit more due to the fact that they had bettered their training and become, especially Rey had studied the Jedi and Jedi technique. You would almost want to see that in her fighting style.
I feel like
taken on board these things.
Yeah, I don't know. I was crying out for a bit more technique, something that looked a bit more. I don't know. Maybe I'm
like you said earlier. It always felt very, very heavy. It always felt like the lightsabers were very heavy when actually they are light weapons. Not to sound stupid, lightsabers are light.
Yeah, and it's definitely something for me that. Obviously, it was a stylistic choice, but I feel it didn't make much sense to me, and I don't think it made much sense to you either.
The fights were enjoyable, but when I think about the fights in the prequel trilogy, they were just so much better, in my opinion.
They were beautifully crafted.
Absolutely. Sometimes people say they were overly choreographed, but I would then point out something like the Anakin Obi-Wan lightsaber fight. Yeah, it was highly choreographed, but it was still probably one of the most emotional fights we've ever had in the actual Star Wars saga.
I'd expect fights like that, and especially like Rey and Kylo and stuff, I'd expect them to be highly choreographed because I'd expect them to be masters at their art. You know, I'd expect that kind of prowess. Not that they weren't
choreographed. Like,
well, I mean,
clearly a lot of work went into the fights, but the actual style of them themselves felt very clunky, really.
Yeah, I think it fell short of my expectations of what a Jedi master or an expert with a lightsaber would look like.
Yeah,
that was definitely where it was coming from for me. But yeah, I guess that sort of that. I mean, unless you want to go into any more detail about Rey's combat and Force powers and stuff, but I think that for me, that I'm pretty much ticked off all I want to really talk about on that little question.
Yeah, I feel like that comes to a nice close, really. Yes. We see her Force abilities kind of evolve throughout the trilogy from using things like simple telekinesis to move the lightsaber in episode 7, being able to infiltrate Kylo Ren's mind, And then we see it evolve further to her eventually using lightning and things like that, which is very cool to see. But most of it, I think, is just portrayed on screen, really, especially when it comes to her force powers. There's not much outside of what you see to really talk about. So I would just say, if you want to see more, just go watch the films again, because
definitely watch the films.
It's good fun, and it's more interesting than us just relaying what happens in the films to you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you want more on Rey, watch the films for sure. Well, we're glad that everyone has tuned in to another How Uncivilized podcast to listen to Rey and hear her story and Charlie's thoughts on Rey in 2015.
Absolutely, and Spencer's thoughts in 2020.
Quite interesting thoughts there, I think, an amalgamation of some interesting facts and figures there. I think we really brought a lot of lore to light that maybe people weren't too sure about. But as we say, a lot of Rey's history is in the films.
It's on the screen for you to see. But the main thing to remember from this episode is that Rey is not the owner of the Millennium Falcon. It's Chewie and will always be Chewie. # justice for Chewie. I will continue plugging this until I die.
He deserves justice. I'm fed up, like, crying out loud. It is clear that someone has stolen from him. That is his by right. And after we found out that Rey is not related to Han or Leia, I'm gunning for Chewie
There's
more.
no reason why she should have it. At least update the Wikipedia page to make him an actual owner.
Yeah, an owner or an honorary owner.
Yeah.
Anyway, as I say, that's us done for episode 7 and 8 now. But yeah, if you want to hear more, obviously we've got all the episodes are out and about for you guys to listen to. And thank you so much for all the people that are following us now on Twitter, Facebook, all the various social media sources. We really appreciate the support and you guys coming in to listen to our podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Be sure to look after yourself in these difficult times. We hope we've offered some kind of escape from your day-to-day routine, whatever that may be.
Yeah, definitely. And remember to stay safe and try and do a weekly grocery shop.
Absolutely. Not more than once. Plan ahead what you're going to buy. That's the most important thing. Make a list.
Indeed. But the good thing for all the listeners to know is that for as long as there is Wi-Fi, we will be continuing to put out our podcast. So yeah, we'll keep you company.
I was worried. I was concerned.
Anyway, yes, we will love you and leave you. Until the next time, how uncivilized. Hello there.
Goodbye there. Thanks for listening to episode 8 of How Uncivilized. With Rey over and done with, we will be moving on to FN 2187, as well as a tasty treat for our 10th episode.
You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, SoundCloud, Reddit, and Apple Podcasts. How Uncivilized was created, produced, and edited by Charlie Feasby and Spencer Lawrence. Goodbye there.